Buying seedlings seems like the easy way to start a garden, but half of them die within 2 weeks of planting. Here's why starting from seed might actually save you time, money, and frustration. Garden centers make transplants look perfect. Rows of healthy plants in neat containers ready to pop in the ground. The reality is different. Those plants have been stressed by shipping, temperature changes, and sitting in parking lots. Meanwhile, seeds planted directly in your garden adapt from day one and often outperform expensive transplants. The choice between seeds and seedlings isn't just about convenience. It's about understanding which method works best for each crop and why most gardeners waste money on transplants they should be growing from seed. Garden centers make buying transplants look easy. Rows of healthy-looking plants in perfect little containers. Just dig a hole, pop them in, and wait for vegetables. Except it never works that smoothly. Those plants have been growing in a greenhouse for weeks under controlled conditions. Constant 70-degree temperature, no wind, perfect humidity, automated watering systems. Then they get loaded onto trucks, shipped to stores, and sit outside in the sun for days or weeks. The stress alone weakens them significantly. Cucumber transplants are a perfect example of what goes wrong. They often arrive at stores with flowers already forming. They look mature and ready to produce. But cucumbers hate being transplanted once they start flowering. The stress of moving them causes the plant to abort flowers, and often the whole plant gives up. Those same cucumbers started from seed directly in the ground, germinate in less than a week when soil hits 65 degrees and produce heavily without any transplant shock. Some vegetables could care less about being moved. Tomatoes actually benefit from being transplanted. You can bury the stem up to the first set of true leaves, and the buried portion grows additional roots. This creates a stronger root system than direct seeding ever could. Peppers transplant reasonably well, though they sulk for a few days after moving. Eggplant handles it fine. Brassicas, broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, kale, all transplant without much complaint. These are the crops where buying starts actually makes sense if you're short on time or space for seed starting. But here's the thing nobody tells you. Even these transplant-friendly crops do better when you start them yourself from seed rather than buying them as seedlings. The reason is simple. No shipping stress, no temperature swings, no sitting in a parking lot baking in the sun. Homegrown seedlings transition to the garden with minimal shock because they haven't been through the commercial supply chain. Lettuce seedlings at garden centers cost about $4 for a six-pack. One packet of lettuce seeds contains 500 to 800 seeds and costs maybe $2. You could grow lettuce for 3 years straight from one packet. More importantly, lettuce doesn't need the head start that transplants provide. It germinates in 3 to 7 days in cool soil. Spring lettuce should go in the ground as soon as soil can be worked in March. By the time you could even buy transplants at stores, you could already be harvesting if you'd direct seeded in early spring. Radishes are another crop that makes 0 sense as transplants, yet they're sold that way. Radishes go from seed to harvest in 25 to 30 days. The transplant would need a week to recover from transplanting, which defeats the entire purpose of growing a fast-maturing crop. Root vegetables in general hate transplanting. Beets can technically be transplanted if you're extremely careful, but why risk it? They germinate easily when direct seeded. Turnips, rutabagas, parsnips, all of these need to stay where you plant them. Moving them causes forked roots and tough, woody texture. Compare the costs of starting a garden with transplants versus seeds. 12 tomato plants at $3 each costs $36. 10 pepper plants at $3.50 each adds another $35. 6 eggplants at $4 each is $24 more. 2 flats of mixed lettuce at $16 per flat brings it to $56 total. 1 flat of herbs at $18. The transplant total reaches $147, and that doesn't include zucchini, cucumbers, beans, or peas. Now look at seeds for the same garden. 3 tomato varieties with 30 seeds each at $4 per packet is $12. 2 pepper varieties at $3.50 per packet adds $7. 1 eggplant variety for $3. A mesclun lettuce mix for $2.50. A 6-pack herb collection for $12. Total seed cost is $36 with enough seeds left over to replant everything next year. The difference is over $100. That's money that could go toward compost, mulch, or better tools instead of overpriced transplants that might not even survive. Plants grown in commercial greenhouses live in paradise. The temperature never drops below 65 or rises above 75. They get fed a perfect liquid fertilizer solution through automated systems. Air circulation is controlled. Pest pressure is minimal because greenhouses are enclosed environments. Your garden is nothing like this. Temperature swings 30 degrees between day and night in spring. Rain might dump 2 inches one day, then nothing for a week. Wind batters the plants. Insects are everywhere. Soil fertility varies across your garden beds. A greenhouse plant moved to these conditions goes into shock. It has no defenses built up because it never needed them. Meanwhile, a seed that germinates directly in your garden develops all its defenses from day one. It knows how to handle your specific conditions because it's never known anything else. The seedling that emerges is already hardened to wind, temperature swings, and natural pest pressure. Transplants aren't always a bad choice. If you live in zone 4 or 5 and want to grow tomatoes, you probably need to buy starts or grow your own indoors. The growing season is too short to direct seed tomatoes and get ripe fruit before frost. Transplants also make sense when you only need 1 or 2 plants. Starting a whole tray of seed for 2 basil plants seems wasteful. Buying 2 transplants for $5 or $6 total is reasonable. Some gardeners don't have the space or setup for indoor seed starting. If you live in an apartment with limited light, buying transplants of crops that need early indoor starting is your only realistic option. The problem is when gardeners buy transplants for everything. Spending money on lettuce transplants or bean transplants or squash transplants makes no sense. These crops are so easy to direct seed that buying transplants is throwing money away. Split a garden in half to test both methods. One side gets transplants bought from the nursery, the other side gets direct seeded. Same varieties, same soil, same watering schedule. For squash, plant 6 seedlings on one side and direct seed 12 seeds on the other. The transplants grow slowly for the first 2 weeks. The direct seeded plants catch up within 3 weeks of germinating. By harvest time, the direct seeded plants produce twice as many squash. Bush beans tell the same story. Transplants might look great at the store, but after planting them, half die within a week. The survivors produce some beans, but never thrive. Direct seeded beans go from seed to harvest in 53 days with no losses and heavy production. Even with tomatoes, where transplants supposedly make sense, homegrown seedlings outperform store-bought transplants. Same varieties started the same week. Store-bought plants are often in their containers too long and become rootbound. Homegrown seedlings have healthy root systems and establish faster after transplanting. Garden centers pack plants close together to display more inventory. This creates perfect conditions for disease spread. High humidity, poor air circulation, plants touching each other. It's a disease breeding ground. Squash seedlings might look healthy with no visible problems. 2 weeks after planting, white powdery spots appear on the leaves. Powdery mildew. It spreads to every squash plant in the garden, including ones grown from seed in different beds. The entire crop is lost. Seeds can't carry foliar diseases. Starting from seed eliminates this risk entirely. As long as you use clean containers and sterile seed starting mix for transplants you grow yourself, disease pressure starts at 0. This single advantage can make the difference between a successful harvest and complete crop failure. Seed companies want you to believe you need expensive equipment. Heat mats, grow lights, humidity domes, special fertilizers. You don't. A bag of seed starting mix costs $10 and lasts multiple seasons. Containers can be anything. Saved yogurt cups, egg cartons, or those plastic clamshells from the grocery store bakery. Poke drainage holes in the bottom and you're set. Light is the only thing that matters. A south-facing window works for many crops. If you want artificial light, a basic LED bulb in a desk lamp provides enough for a dozen seedlings. You don't need expensive grow lights unless you're starting hundreds of plants. For direct seeding outdoors, you need even less. Seeds, a garden bed with decent soil and water. That's the complete list. No complicated setup, no expensive equipment, just basic materials most gardeners already have. Growing from seed doesn't mean abandoning transplants completely. Tomatoes, peppers, and eggplants can start indoors in mid-March for zones with shorter seasons. Everything else goes directly in the garden as seeds. The only transplants worth buying are a few herbs. Rosemary and thyme are slow from seed and easier to just buy as established plants. One plant of each lasts multiple years, so the $8 investment makes sense. Everything else, lettuce, all root crops, beans, peas, squash, cucumbers, melons, goes in as seeds. Success rates are higher, plants are healthier, and the savings add up to over $100 every season. Start with the easy wins. Direct seed lettuce, radishes, and bush beans this spring. Once you see how simple it is and how well the plants perform, the choice between seeds and transplants becomes obvious. There is no need to overcomplicate gardening. Most of the crops people buy as transplants grow better, faster, cheaper, and healthier when started from seed directly in the soil where they will live their entire lives. When you stop buying transplants for crops that don't need them, your garden gets easier, your plants get stronger, and your harvest gets bigger.